Hi guys, welcome back to Joan Academy. Previously, we talked about the neuron. We said that neuron is the structural and the functional unit of the nervous system. And we also went further to classify the neuron into three basic types. Please, if you've not seen the video, I encourage you to go back to the previous video and have a look at it so that you'll be able to understand and also flow as we proceed. In this video, we'll be looking at the structures of the neuron and the organelles that are peculiar with the neuron. Neuron is divided into three parts. They include the nerve cell body, the dendrites, and the axon. The dendrites and the axon are the nerve processes. The dendrites are regarded as the short processes, whereas the axons are regarded as the long processes. Both dendrites and axons are usually referred to as the nerve fibers. Let's take the different parts of the neuron one after the other. Firstly, we'll go with the nerve cell body. The nerve cell body can also be called the soma or the pericrion. It has no regular shape. Just like any other cell, the nerve cell body has cytoplasm, which is known as the neuroplasm. Inside this cytoplasm, we'll see the different organelles of the neuron. The organelles include the large nucleus, Nissl Bodies, Neurofibrils, Mitochondria, and Golgi Apparatus. The Nissl Bodies and Neurofibrils are the organelles that are peculiar to only neuron. That is, you can't see the Nissl Bodies and the Neurofibrils in other cells. Now, let's take a close look at these different cell organelles of the neuron, one after the other. The nucleus of the nerve cell is incapable of multiplying, reason being that it lacks centrosome. Every neuron has only one nucleus, which is centrally located in the soma. Also, the nucleus has only one or two prominent nuclei. As for the Nissl bodies, they are also regarded as Nissl granules. They are simply small basophilic granules that are seen in the cytoplasm of the neuron. These Nissl bodies are named after the scientist who discovered them. The scientist was called Franz Nissl. Nissl bodies can be seen in the soma of the neuron as well as the dendrites, but you cannot see the Nissl body in the axon as well as the axon hillock. You might be wondering, what is axon hillock? Axon hillock is comparable to our shoulder. The reason why I say the axon hillock is comparable to our shoulder is because the shoulder serves as a connection between the upper limb and the thorax. So do the axon hillock serve as a connection between the axon and the soma of the neuron. Nissl bodies can also be called the trigoid substances. They are called the trigoid substances because they are responsible for the trigoid appearance of the soma after a suitable staining. The Nissl bodies can also serve as a distinguishing factor between the dendrites and the axon of a neuron. Reason being that the Nissl bodies can only be seen in the dendrites. The Nissl body cannot be seen in the axon of the neuron. What is even the function of these Nissl bodies that I've been talking about all this while? Well, the function of the Nissl body is basically for protein synthesis in the neuron. It is just a membranous organelle that contains the ribosomes, and we know that the ribosomes in every other cell is responsible for protein synthesis. So when protein is produced in the soma of the neuron, it is transported through the axon via axonal flow. The number of Nissl bodies seen in the neuron is dependent on the condition of the neuron. If the neuron is fatigued or injured, these Nissl bodies become fragmented and disappear by a process called Chromatolysis. Whenever the neuron recovers from the fatigue state, the Nissl bodies reappears. What about the neurofibrils? The neurofibrils are actually thread-like structures that are present in form of network in the soma and as well as the nerve processes. Like we pointed out earlier in this video, the neurofibril is the only organelle that is seen in the neuron. So it is regarded as a characteristic feature of the neurons. The neurofibril consists the microfilament and the microtubules. The mitochondria of the neuron serve the same purpose as the mitochondria of any other cell. They are responsible for production of ATP. That is why they are regarded as the powerhouse of the neuron. The mitochondria are situated in the soma as well as the axon of the neuron. The Golgi apparatus of the nerve cell body performs similar function that they do in every other cell. That is, processing and packaging of proteins into granules. Let's quickly glance through the nerve processes. Firstly, we'll start with the dendrites. The dendrites are the branched processes of the neuron. They are branched repeatedly. The dendrite can be present and as well absent. If present, it can be one or many in number. Like we mentioned earlier in this video, the dendrite contains the Nissl Bodies. What then is the function of the dendrite? The function of the dendrite is the transmission of impulse towards the nerve cell body. Usually, the dendrites are shorter in length than the axon. As for the axon, it is the long nerve process. Every neuron has only one axon. Like we pointed earlier in this video, axon arise from the axon hillock and they lack the Nissl Bodies. The longest axon measures about 1 meter in length. The function of the axon is for the transmission of impulse away from the nerve cell body. Alright guys, in the next video, we'll continue with the structures and the organization of the nerve cell. Please don't forget to click on the subscription button, like and leave a comment on the comment section. You can support Joen Academy in the little way you can. You can start with sharing this video with your friends. Thank you so much for your support. See you next time. Until then, remain blessed.